Okay, in this week's episode of Hobby Quick Tips, we're going to be going over cork basing. Cork is a very venerable basing method, and there's good reasons for that. One is it looks really good. Two, it's very easy to use. Three, it's cheap and readily available. And lastly, it can be used in a variety of basing styles. So what we're going to do is just go over some things that I like to do when I'm doing cork basing. First one is you want various thicknesses of cork, just to add some variety. Then I use a very, very fine ballast in my cork basing. And this is wooden scenics. You can see these are very small grains. And lastly is super glue. I always use super glue when I'm doing my cork basing. I never use hot glue or white glue to hold it together. So when you're doing your cork basing, first you have to decide, I do a lot of these, because these make good rocks, of course. You want to decide if you want to do the whole base, part of the base, you combine it with rocks, various size ballasts, that kind of stuff. But we're just going to go a chunk here. And of course, you can just rip it to the size you want. Perfect for a 32mm base. And what I like to do is I go over the edges, kind of rub the edges so you don't have quite just a sharp edge on it. And the reason for that is, one, the primary reason I should say is just so the paint doesn't chip off quite as easily. Okay, and the next thing I want to do is take my hobby knife with a relatively used up blade, so I'll kind of use my safe, and then kind of scratch up the surface, because I don't want that nice smooth top. It just doesn't look normal. So just by going and scratching it up, just add some texture to the top of it. Very nice texture. So what I'm going to do now is just glue it down to the base. Again with super glue. And then what I like to do with this ballast here, what I want the very fine ballast, is I want to build a transition from the layer from the base to the cork. So I'm going to put some super glue here right around the edge of the cork. And sprinkle on some of this very fine ballast here. And there we go. So now what that'll do is it'll give us a nice smooth transition, or especially a more realistic transition, especially if you're talking about worn away rock, from one surface to the next. So this is your basic, just a real simple base. You can paint this other area, grass or lava or water. You can represent this, anything you want with that. And the last thing I usually do with the bases is I take a very thin down PVA glue, almost like you're doing flock, and I try to put a few layers into the cork. It will kind of harden them. It really won't absorb enough to become solid, but it'll absorb enough, and when it dries it will become a little stiffer, and it will give you a little stronger foundation to glue your models on. And you could add rocks to the top. Usually do when I do my lava bases, I'll use two chunks. I put 1 foot of each of the Space Marine on either side with the lava going between them. Cork really gives you pretty much an infinite amount of variety, but again, it's just the positives on it are so many that's why it's so common. But you follow these extra steps here of roughing up the surface and giving yourself a transition between layers, will really help bring out the base and make it look really good. So that's it for this week's Hobby Quick Tip. Thanks for watching.